Hi guys, I'm coming to you at this very unflattering light angle face. It is what it is. I have something to say. I'm a little bit angry about mental health treatment in the area that I live is not good. Mental health treatment is for many essentially non-existent. If you go from the lower level, and I don't mean lower as in it doesn't affect you, I know it does, but I mean perhaps you might need less intervention. So perhaps you have depression, anxiety. You'll be offered an antidepressant and maybe a referral to talking therapies. The waiting time in my area for talking therapies is 10 months. When I saw my talking therapist after nearly a year of waiting, they said I needed to see a psychiatrist, and they said that they couldn't treat me for the conditions that I had. So I had to wait further months to see a psychiatrist who literally only confirmed the diagnosis that I already had and recommended more medication and no therapy for my PTSD at all. So the most effective treatment they have at the moment is, I think it's EMDR. I might have that the wrong way around, but I've had it. It's where you reprocess the event by looking at these lights, and it changes the way your brain processes it. Because it's not necessarily the trauma that causes PTSD, it's how your brain's processed it. For example, this isn't really secret information. I was assaulted when I was at university. I was attacked randomly, violently, and they never caught the guy who did it. I was on Crime Watch. And for some reason, I don't have PTSD about that. I have PTSD about things like how I was treated in the workplace, and I have PTSD medically because I've had some bad medical experiences, and I can't access that treatment. They just say we can't do it. You want to do it, you have to go private. So I'd say that's on the lower end of things. So let's talk about the higher end of things, where things start to get a little bit ugly, when you start to see what society really looks like, when you start to see how people and our government really, really see the most vulnerable people in society. So, say I'm a drug addict and I have schizophrenia. It's obvious that I have schizophrenia. I come in sometimes and I'm making it very obvious in displaying my schizophrenia, or perhaps schizoaffective disorder, something of those lines, which may cause me to have psychosis. Psychosis might be repeatedly reported in my records. People might report seeing me in town. I'm just known as that person with psychosis that says crazy things. You know, that's just them. So you can refer them to the mental health team. And I've got nothing against the staff at the mental health team. This is not their fault. They do their absolute best and they do great work. However, the interventions are basically non-existent. So if my client comes in who's really vulnerable and is talking all this crazy stuff that I know is a sign of psychosis, and he's clearly psychotic, what can I do? I can call the crisis team, only if he's sort of threatening to hurt himself or somebody else. And generally, if someone gets sort of sectioned, they will get taken to a unit in hospital with other people who've been sectioned. They may have medication. At the time that they're there, they will receive no interventions, no therapy for the time that you're in these, nothing. That's not part of it. And so as soon as you say that you're not going to kill yourself or anybody else, despite your obvious ongoing mental illness, you can leave. So it's basically, you can be locked up with no treatment so that you don't hurt anyone, or once you say, I'm not going to do that anymore, you can leave with no further help in place. So going back to my addict. So say, I'm going to use me as an example, it seems easier. So say I've been diagnosed with schizoaffective disorder, I have psychotic episodes. My life hasn't been great, and for whatever reason, I get into drugs quite heavily to deal with things. Perhaps my childhood has kind of been the same way. Perhaps that's kind of all I know. Perhaps I'm dealing with quite a lot of trauma that I have kept inside. Perhaps I've reported it and perhaps nobody's done anything about it. Perhaps I've got a bit of mistrust. Anyway, I'm using drugs. I want to change my life, but I'm also mentally ill. So it's very difficult for me as someone with regular psychosis to have the sort of willpower and understanding of what I'm doing when I'm taking the drugs, which are probably exacerbating it. And I'm not getting any help for my problems. So if I come into the service, the drug and alcohol service, and say I need help, yeah, that's fine. They'll give me an appointment and that's fine. However, if I'm not also getting mental health treatment, then how am I going to be able to engage in this drug and alcohol service? If I'm in psychosis and I don't know where I am a lot of the day, am I really going to be able to always remember, whilst I'm potentially homeless as well, this bit of card that I have that says an appointment that I have at some point in the future? Just another appointment on the long list of appointments that I have to do. Appointments I have to do to make sure I have my benefits. Appointments I have to try and find somewhere to stay. Appointments I have about my health, all leading to pretty much nothing, but I have to be there. Because if you miss 2 appointments, then that's it. You're out of the drug and alcohol service. So why does that matter? Because if you want to access mental health treatment and you are using drugs and alcohol, they will not accept you. And the reason for this is clear, and it does make sense on some level, because how would you know if the drugs are causing the mental illness or exacerbating it? Is treating it going to do any good when you're using drugs and alcohol? Potentially not. However, I would argue then you're just leaving people who are mentally ill, regardless of whether it's because of drugs or exacerbated by drugs. They are mentally ill at this point, to the point where what you're saying to them is, you can only access mental health treatment if you do all these things. What you need to do is you need to stick with the drug and alcohol service for this amount of time, then maybe we'll accept you. So you have all that in front of you. Again, I said all the hurdles about meeting these appointments on time, but you've missed 2 appointments. So maybe one day you wake up and you're a bit more lucid, you look at the card and think, oh my God, that appointment was yesterday. You run into the drug and alcohol service and you say, I'm so sorry about that. I can't help it. I really didn't mean to. I was just not in a good place. And they say, I'm ever so sorry. And again, this is what they have to say. I'm ever so sorry, but you've missed 2 appointments. So now, instead of seeing somebody, you have to re-refer yourself to the service. So that means doing a new referral, giving information that we all know because we've known you for years, because you haven't been able to get out of this because of your mental health. You have to give all that information as a referral, and then we have to assess you. We have to do risk assessments. We have to do all kinds of assessments all over again with you. We maybe have to do blood tests and things like that again with you. And then you'll have an appointment with someone who'll assess you further. And then you'll get to maybe see someone, and then maybe you'll see a doctor, maybe, if you're lucky. Depends what kind of thing you're addicted to. If you can have substitute medication, then you can see a doctor. So yeah. So you have to go through all that again. That's more stress, that's more appointments. You're basically being set up to fail. So quite often I walk around the streets and I see people who I know are addicted to drugs, and they are displaying very, very clear signs of being mentally unwell. And people kind of just accept this. They're just like, oh, they're crazy. They're one of the drug addicts. Oh, they're going to act crazy. And quite a lot of these people are genuinely mentally ill. And they don't have any kind of voice. They don't have any kind of advocate. They can't really advocate for themselves in this position. It just really bothers me. We're all human beings at the end of the day. And also class. I don't want to talk about class too much. Addiction spans all classes. But it must be said, obviously, if you come from a background of pretty much nothing, you know, and you have these issues, it's going to be probably a lot harder for you than it would be for somebody who had more financial resources. I mean, that's just a statistical fact as well. But again, addiction affects everyone, all walks of life, and that it does not discriminate at all. But there are certain things that are, again, statistically shown to be more likely to lead to substance abuse. I just feel like before you judge somebody who's ranting and raving on the street, think about what may lead you to do something like that. Think about what might have to happen in your life for you to be that person. Nobody wants this. And I just wish we could all have equal access to treatment in this country. The NHS is so great, but it's so overworked. Equal access to treatment hasn't been a thing for years. And the mental health services in this country are truly disgusting. And I think they're discriminatory. And yeah, I think that's about it. Bye.